Hello everyone, welcome to our Let's Play series of Disco Elysium. This is Colonel RPG as usual, and I'm very happy that he chose to join me today as we mess with the pawn shop. We talked to the... is it pawnbroker?
Hello again. How can I help you?
I'm actually not sure. Bird's Nest, Roy. We are gonna... Ooh, composure noticed psychedelics. Yes, it did. We are gonna mess with our psychedelic spends to try and see what I can do here. You might be able to aid our investigation.
I doubt it, but I can try and answer any questions you may have.
Do you know anything about the recent hanging?
I do my best to keep my distance from all manner of butchery. Bad for business. Bad for everyone.
No one likes to see what you have to see every day.
Yeah. Think you could help me get a corpse out of a tree?
The corpse behind the hostel, I assume.
He looks into the swirling lights and then to you.
I don't have a truck with a mounted platform or anything of that sort myself. Ask around the harbour. There might be some workers there who'd be willing to help.
Yep, that's where I'm going next.
The pawnbroker's gaze is already fixed on the dancing colors.
By the way, do you happen to have any guns, like the ones carried by officers of the Citizens Militia?
Someone else came here earlier today asking the same question. I promptly sold her the gun you pawned a couple days back.
What? Sold?
No, Half-Light. What? Pawned. 'Cause that's the revelation here.
The lieutenant shifts from one foot to another, alert.
Was the buyer a policeman too?
She didn't seem like a policeman, although she kept referring to herself as a pig, which was odd. I found her interest in the gun a bit obsessive, but I was just happy to get rid of it, and of her. Truth be told, she was terrifying.
Right, so let me get this right.
The lieutenant turns to you.
You sold your sidearm, issued by the Citizens Militia, and now a civilian is running around the streets of Martinez with it?
There's only one explanation. She must be one of my rabid fans.
In that case, she'll be happy to get a visit from us, if we can find her.
He looks around, worried. So I sold you my gun.
You were adamant about getting rid of it, officer.
He hesitates.
Said you were undeserving of a service weapon of the Revachol Citizens Militia.
So I didn't sell you the gun. I just gave you the gun.
And I don't like keeping guns around the shop for long. Off the charts photon emissions. The unhealthy kind.
Right. Any idea where I can find this buyer?
My apologies, officer, but I have no idea where she was coming from or where she went.
A needle in a haystack. There is nothing you can do about it now. You'll just have to hope you luck upon her somehow.
Yeah, at least now I know how I lost my sidearm. Let's talk about something else.
Of course.
So I wanted to ask you about my, missing gun again.
Sure thing.
Nah, let's talk about something else.
Sure, man.
Sure indeed. Let me just change my pants very quickly. Because, not of that, because of my electrochemistry. So, +1 on electrochemistry. Oh, it's already from the pens, okay. But I do have electrochemistry gloves. Let's do it.
Hello again. How can I help you?
I'm gonna try to think, is Roy high? And if yes, what is he on?
Feeling warm and enthralled by the movement of light, while the mind continues to race forward. Lucky bastard, he's probably on Pyrrolidon. It's tough to come by on the street.
Pyrrolidon? What is that?
A drug developed by the military to treat and prevent radiation sickness. It has psychedelic side effects, and it makes your eyes turn yellow.
Sir, could you take off your sunglasses? I'd like to check your eyes, and I'm gonna step closer.
Why on earth?
He staggers away from the glass, but quickly recomposes himself.
These are prescription. I can't really see without them.
No judgment, just curious. I probably did loads of Pyrrolidon before I lost my memory.
I've had to take it. You know, since the People's Pile cleanup.
He responds carefully.
I was with the Emergency Relief Brigade.
He's taken it for mental and emotional, not physical pain these days.
The People's Pile, what's that?
A bad idea. Some poor leftist built a particle decay generator in hopes of bringing affordable electricity to underserved communities. It malfunctioned. Radioactive waste everywhere. Probably some of it in you too.
Tell me more about this emergency relief brigade you were part of. He points at the white triangle on his orange safety jacket.
We were an all-volunteer force. Self-organized. Tried to help the fire brigades contain the spill.
On the patch, gamma radiation lines crossed with a red drop of blood.
I lived by the river since I was a small boy. The Esperance. Didn't have the art to let it all go to shit without trying to do something to help out. There wasn't much the volunteer force could do, however. We wasted years in the river mud. Years getting sick.
He looks at the spiraling light and stops. It must have been tough. Radioactive cleanup. He hesitates.
There's a reason why everyone's tried to forget any of it ever happened. And why no one has tried to repair or replace the pile. So much disappointment. And early deaths. Cancer mostly. And we knew all that was coming even as we were cleaning up as best we could.
Whose fault was it that the generator failed?
No one's. Everyone's.
He sighs and shakes his head.
So much bitterness.
A bunch of poor people built themselves a primitive nuclear reactor, hoping for the best. What do you think is going to happen?
No one's and everyone's. Man, yeah. How did you end up running a pawn shop?
The cleanup happened 15 years ago. I was young then. Later, my second aunt died. Left me this shack and all the assorted junk in it. So I came to Martinez. People told me don't go there. It's a shithole. I said, people, we just had a nuclear pile meltdown. I'm gonna get as far away from Forberg as I can. Still in the same city, but...
He shrugs. Yeah, fair enough. Thank you for telling me. He shrugs.
I like the theory more than the story. Outward movement, not vortices.
Yeah, you gotta get in on those vortices, my man.
Yeah, you care to share any of your pure holodon with me?
You said you'd done it before, yeah?
The lieutenant steps away, pretending to admire some of the knickknacks on display. Looks like he doesn't want to get involved.
I think I've tried it once, and I liked it.
Here you go, man.
He presents a large cap-shaped object on the palm of his hand. Very odd-looking.
Yes, darling. That's the coalition government-ordained Pyrrolidon. Straight into your gut.
Thanks, man. I'm gonna take the perholidon. He looks down.
Of course.
Yeah, so I have other business to take care of now. We got drugs. And I didn't even need my gloves, because that was such a good check. Now, we also have cigarettes. Let's see, it is really pretty. A pretty little puck-shaped cap of... Why is it called a cap? What's that? What is that supposed to be? The cap would be the top bit. You know, the capsule. Oh, is it the capsule? I don't know. Either way, it is a cap of purple liquid that can bring on anything from hot flashes to military-grade psychosis. With sufficient tolerance, however, it can make any weather feel balmy, if only for a while. So that is what we were referring to in regards to it being hot in here, is because we knew that it makes you hotter. It does add to psyche, but it only lasts for a little while, and oh, that's pretty cool. Intellect and psyche, yeah. So I'm probably gonna need to invest in our endurance, and because our health is really not looking good, and we can't even take off our jacket, otherwise we die. we absolutely die. And I still will have to deal with this, but all in due time. Let me just look around a little, now that I have a little bit more money to get some things.
Wow, a very large red t-shirt with an impressive print stands out from the other garb.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah, the print depicts a muscled man striding toward you, a giant sword in each hand, encircled by burning embers. Behind him is a cluster of cabins engulfed in flames. Beneath him are the words, Heimdall burning. The antlers on the hood of the man's cloak and his piercing blue eyes are familiar.
They are, but Leapsies only have 3 dots, so yeah, I'm gonna sniff the t-shirt.
Smells like worn cotton and a little old sweat there. Worn cotton with a side of flea market or trash bin.
Sniffing is okay,
Says the shopkeep.
but please don't try anything on. Can't have you leaving your photon emissions in the fabric of things you're not going to buy.
What's the deal with the man on this t-shirt?
It's the man from Heimdall.
Walking away from his burning village. Yes.
Remind me, who's the man from Helmdal again?
The man from Helmdall is the hero of a series of popular books based on a fictional version of Kotla. Mostly what is nowadays Arda NFD. In fact,
He leans in.
most people don't think that man from Helmdall ever really existed. But they are wrong.
The lieutenant raises a brow.
Heimdall isn't a real place.
Neither is the man a real man, of course. But both the man and Helmdall are an ontological necessity.
He stops abruptly.
But hey, it's not worth getting into an argument about.
What did you mean the man from Helmdown was real?
I mean, even if the man from Helmdall didn't exist before the adventure novels, the stories have made it so that he has. It's simple, really.
Okay.
He sounds incredulous.
You sound skeptical. It's not that complicated. All that's required is a more robust understanding of cause and effect. Besides, I've been to Kotla, though not quite as far north as the Helmdall, and watched northern lights travel across the sky. Very unique, energetic tides there.
It's really interesting that he mixes up I don't actually know what ontological means, by the way, but he mixes up just normal philosophical thought with pseudoscience. And when I say normal philosophical thought, what he's saying here isn't far-fetched, or isn't that far-fetched. The photon things, it might be a little bit far-fetched. But again, this world is fantasy. It might actually work like that. We don't know. That said, I'll give you a little bit of a thought experiment. That, you know, it might be alien to you, amazing viewer that are listening right now, so amazing listener. Or maybe you have heard it already, or maybe you have heard me talk about it already, although I don't think I've ever... Maybe in the first Let's Play I talked about precisely the same thing, although I don't remember having this conversation with him. But maybe I did. Actually, I probably did, because it's a t-shirt right there, so it's generally a straightforward thing. Now, his hypothesis, or his theory, rather in this case, is that because the stories of the man of Helmdall, you know, are, at least they are stories, so they existed in I assume in a pervasive enough fashion, they made the man of Helmdall exist. Even if the man didn't exist before the adventure novels, the stories themselves made him exist. Now, the thought experiment that I'm going to give you is this. Think of a famous person. I'm not talking necessarily about something with consequence, because that's different, but like, for example, let's say an actor. Yeah, there's limitations to this argument, but think of an actor. Just somebody who has a common enough public figure that people have a perception of them in the way they act. Like, for example, Leonardo DiCaprio. Or actually, maybe before the internet, this would have been a better example. But think of Leonardo DiCaprio. He has a public persona, but as a a person, as an individual, as the realist Leonardo DiCaprio that real can be, we don't really have access to that. Or, I mean, that's why I'm saying we sort of do, because the internet and also tabloids and a bunch of other things, but the thought experiment does have a limitation. Now, who has the most influence? The person, the private person that Leo is, or his public persona? Those two aspects of him make him as a whole, naturally, but obviously his public persona is curated. It is, well, certainly the one on the big screen, it is definitely curated, but even the one where he gives interviews and where he goes to shows and awards and all that sort of stuff, it's also curated because he wants to project a certain kind of person that paints him in a nice light or whatever he wants to look like. I'm just using him as an example. Now, that person is very real as well, but it is just character, in a way. It's like me. The me that is me isn't really Colonel RPG. Colonel RPG is a part of me, I suppose, but I also make Colonel RPG be who I want Colonel RPG to be. And I am very aware of that, actually, every time I'm very aware of that. I'm very aware that the choices that are available to me in what I say and what I do as Colonel RPG aren't the same choices that are available to me as myself as a person, as an individual private person. But certainly Colonel RPG is more well known than me as a private person, and they're both real. Now, what made Colonel RPG? What made the public Leonardo DiCaprio? What made the Men of Helmdall or whatever real? It's the fact that people know the Men of Helmdall or Leonardo DiCaprio or Colonel RPG. So it's the stories that make that character real. All those characters real. And it's complicated to draw that from his argument. So I don't know that he's actually saying that. He might not be saying that. All I'm saying here, Colonel RPG, is that there's an argument to be made here. Especially because stuff like this does have influence on people, like, especially if it's like for kids or stuff like that. Well, even if it isn't just for kids, but it's common enough to see stories for kids influence generations and just be very, very important in the development of individual people for sure, but, large groups of people as a whole as well. How much are you selling this t-shirt for?
2 real.
The lieutenant raises an eyebrow.
That's dirt cheap.
Couldn't you just give it for me for free then? He frowns.
But why?
Perhaps I could repay you in some other way.
I deal in goods, not services.
Okay. I've thought it over and I want to buy the t-shirt. Physical instrument and shivers, but minus authority. The shivers are going to be nice. It's a physical instrument shirt. It is a good shirt.
Welcome to Helmdall, officer.
Welcome to Helmdall. The man from Helmdall is standing in front of a burning village, dual-wielding his ever-present Zweihanders. Zweihanders? I don't know. His muscles look ready to burst out of the two-dimensional print and into your three-dimensional life. And that because of that, we get inspiring musculature, so we get +1 to physical instrument, and we also have Sprawling Saga for plus shivers, but 2 all for this shirt, with a -2 to authority, which I think is alright for me. In fact, extra conceptualization. Having shivers is always handy. Always handy. Oh man, the shirt looks cool. My shoes don't go. My shoes should be red. But I don't have shoes. I mean, I suppose if they were yellow, it wouldn't be too bad either. But my hat doesn't look too good. We'll use items based on stats, not based on how they look. Although it is definitely a valid way to play the game. And probably, I think the game incentivizes that, because they're such ugly. All the items are very contrasting, so you can definitely get yourself to look super ugly. I mean, just look at me. What do we have here?
A typical Martinez streetlight sits among assorted floor and table lamps.
Let your gaze run over the street light.
The light pole has been carefully cut, and the wiring has been redone and attached to a standard indoor plug. The light buzzes faintly, but persistently.
Is that a street light?
Yes, officer. As you see, it's in perfect working order.
His manner is casual, but his speech is careful, measured. He wants you to know that he has nothing to hide.
Where did you get this?
It was brought to me to be altered.
We are not here to investigate the theft of city property.
He leans in so the pawnbroker doesn't hear him.
You have to admit it's rather clever what he's done with it.
He pauses, studying the light. How much for the street light?
700 real. A bargain, I dare say.
A bargain? No, it's not. He's trying to sweet-talk you into buying trash.
Even taking into account the risk of obtaining the light, that seems a bit steep.
There's also the matter of rewiring, but the most important transformation is the light's placement among ordinary indoor fixtures, which has adjusted its morphological field. The light became suitable for use inside the home just a few days ago.
Well, if I ever find 700 real, I will buy your street light. Maybe, although I do have some pens that I want to buy as well. There's nothing else I need to know about the light. There is, however, welcome to the pawn shop, yes. Some stuff up there.
The boomboxes on the shelf look well-loved and well-traveled. Chipped, dented, they stare at you with the unblinking eyes of their tape reels.
I'm gonna stand on the tip of my toes to see more.
One especially catches your eye. Deep gold and amber plastic with a big old handle on top. A classic boombox that says Stereo 8 approved.
I'm also wondering right now, because we got this thing, why do we have a Kim Kitsuragi check in here? A formidable logic check. Why did it just show up now? What I was wondering is that I might be able... No, I haven't leveled up to buy another one of these. So, yeah, let's continue. Stereo 8 approved.
Just make sure it works before you buy.
Are you sure this is all in working order?
Absolutely. I've tested each one myself with recordings of speech, found sounds and music from a variety of genres, even though I don't really like music.
Shopkeep, the Stereo 8 approved machine here.
Is the Harman Welshi W2, made in Vespa, designed in Seoul.
He says.
Plays all reel-to-reel format. 2mm, 8mm, 12mm. It's even got a little radio in there. It'll set you back 12 real.
What I really want to know is, could this device come handy in my police work?
If police work means playing tapes, sure. You can use it for that. Or any other time you'd need to play a tape.
Sounds good, that's all. It's important to remember that... I don't know what that sound was, that... I think it was that one. But when I messed with the menus, it really started that. Kim, what is the formidable check?
Yes?
Oh. Why did the 41st send me? Roy mentioned suicide. And now I have a +1. That's why that showed up. Huh. Kim, wait a little bit. Let's see what I can do about my logic. Wait. Is this the thing that makes that sound? I think it very well might be. I'm not really sure what to think about that. So, we are gonna need to put on... nothing, really. That's quite a shame. Although I might give it a try when I have more health for our cigarette or something like that. Because it does buff that. So, yeah, I'll, Did I mess with this?
You see rows of toy soldiers guarding the rest of the trinkets displayed on the table. Some on horseback, others in rags, others yet in bright blue uniforms. All are stern and unyielding in their duty.
I think I know what's going on. The game has the stereo flipped. We're hearing things on our right side, and that thing is on our left side. What I'm going to do from now on, not from this episode, I did notice this before when we were next to Kuno, but what I'm going to do from now on, starting next episode, and I'm not doing it right now, otherwise this course wouldn't make any sense, is I'm going to flip the stereo audio so that for you, it makes more sense. But anyway, let's inspect the knights on horseback.
Big men on big horses, clad in lamella armor and carrying flintlocks, the kind that would mow down a line of enemy soldiers in the blink of an eye.
I'm gonna point at the knights on horseback. Who are they?
Franco-Nigerian knights.
He looks at the dusty figurines in the dim light.
I used to be very serious about these guys.
Probably should do this first. Dig up a truly cool figurine in the box under the table.
Why? What's this? A headless man riding a horse? A headless man wearing futuristic tracksuit trousers that say found.
What's this? I'm gonna show it to the shopkeep.
Oh, that's the Headless Phone Rider.
Who?
The Headless Phone Rider. It's an urban legend about a man who rides the streets of Revachol sporting a fawn tracksuit. As you see, he's missing his head.
He points at the decapitated figurine.
50 cents. Bargain priced. I'll throw in the tiny cap too. I think he's looking for it, or something. That part of the story has many interpretations.
Absolutely. That's a bargain. Purchase the Headless Fallen Rider and his cap.
Did I mention that this figurine is supposed to be lucky? Always carry it with you.
He grins. I will indeed. I'm gonna inspect the blue uniforms as well.
They're not all blue. These figurines also wear gold coats and caps, complemented by orange trousers. They are variously posed, wielding swords and rifles with bayonets.
Are these royalist soldiers? I'm gonna point at the blue figurines.
Which ones?
The man peers from his glass box.
Ah, those. Yes, they are. I find the paint job a bit gaudy, but children like the bright colours indiscriminately.
It's kind of interesting that he has opinions about children's toys. Since he's, at least in his eyes, these are children's toys. I don't like how he looks. Inspect the figurines in rags?
This set of soldiers isn't meant to look impressive. A few have rifles, but most of them carry pistols. Some even shovels and tall sticks.
And I'm gonna point at them. Are these even soldiers?
You're probably talking about the revolutionaries, yes?
The man behind the glass answers.
Yes, they are soldiers, revolutionary soldiers. I think their poverty has been exaggerated for effect. When you place them next to the royalists, it doesn't seem like they could possibly win.
The contrast is meant to be disheartening, as it ought to be.
I don't like either set very much, to be honest. But there are many parents among my customers.
I'm gonna step away from the table. And I'm also gonna look at the new figurine that we got. It's a figurine set, quote, Headless Fallen Rider, unquote. The plastic Headless Fallen Rider sits atop his equally plastic bull, his posture indicating either desperation or pride. Comes as a set with an infamous fallen cap, for which he lost his head, and the head is not included. Because, yeah, that's that thing over there, that's the fallen cap. I wonder if we're going to be able to get a fallen cap. Maybe. I'm having trouble pronouncing fallen. But that's going to be that for this episode, because we are out of time for the day. We definitely need to go talk to Call Me Mañana, but that's going to be next episode. For right now, I'm Colonel RPG, and this has been Disco Elysium. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead and leave a comment, like the video, but above all, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next episode. Bye-bye.